All right, so I want to play this clip, and I'm gonna go into more detail. I'm gonna go through a breakdown of just certain key points from the red card. But I just want to say I wholeheartedly agree with what Parasite's saying here. And there's a lot of people that didn't even agree. Like a lot of the people on the panel here didn't even agree with him. I was confused why, and I'll kind of double down on what he says after he goes. So it's gonna be about like 3 to 5 minutes.
That's why we get these styles of maps. I don't think that there's any real advantage.
I disagree, and I want to preface this by saying we were talking about FaZe's hardpoint being terrible. Last stage, it was terrible. This stage, it still was not that good. The only thing they really got an improvement on was getting that rewind hardpoint into their map pool, but even then, it was still kind of iffy. The only reason their hardpoint was good at this event, and one of the main reasons was because Simp literally went from a 0.9 online in hardpoint to a 1.5 online or on LAN at the major. So I still obviously Simp is very capable of having those types of events pretty consistently, but I am still not so sure about their hard point.
When I would give the edge in that mode.
Optic fans wish their sub improved from online
when
to LAN. Wow.
I don't know if Simp ended with a 1.5. I remember the graphic coming up on stream, I think either Saturday or like at the beginning of Sunday, so bear with me, but it was there on the broadcast. Anyways, the reason when we were talking about the other teams, when you guys were like comparing, oh, this team needs to improve this map pool, this whatever, bro, do not compare anybody's map pool to this Thieves team. They have one map that they can't play. It's literally one map. It's the fucking Protocol Search and Destroy, I think, is that they don't play.
They don't play Proto.
Every other map, you look at this series and tell me there's a weak map for this team in this series. Even FaZe, who is the second current best team in the game, they don't have a fucking leg up on them in this series. Yeah, they might have won 2 maps, and yeah, against other teams, they might be competitive on a couple of these maps, but holy fuck, when I saw this, I was absolutely mind blown because it made me finally realize that Thieves, their final form, their map pool is fucking incredible, bro. Like the fact that they have like literally 5 or 6 bread and butters in a fucking best of 7. What is like the only way that this FaZe team can get a leg up on them is if they start playing Vault, which they haven't been playing, and that's like they've been kind of avoiding that Vault control. They haven't got good at it. They might try to get good at it for champs, and then outside of that, what else are they supposed to do? They vetoed rewind hardpoint. That shit's fucking over. Like it. What do they have to play?
You're saying Thieves veto rewind hardpoint.
Yeah. They have no leg up in this series, and if FaZe,
I don't know.
FaZe
Hold on, Chris. I think you're kind of overblowing it because I think the difference in these two teams is Thieves' offenses on search were actually good this weekend, and FaZe kind of bluffed their way through S&D all weekend, being terrible on offense in virtually almost every series they played.
FaZe do need to get FaZe do need to get better at search,
and they just could not get bloods.
Well, I'm not saying that FaZe is.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying that FaZe isn't possible to get there, but just like objectively looking at it here, again, FaZe did not have a leg up at all. Yeah, FaZe could play better, and every team can play better and potentially beat this team. But in a best of 7, especially when they're coming in, they're coming in like this. Like there's just no leg up, dude.
I think the margins are way closer than you think, Chris. I think the difference in these two teams.
I don't think so.
Because if you look at the split here, like I think the difference in the two teams, they split the controls, they split the hard points, bro. Is the searches. I think Thieves on both sides of the ball in S&D was way better, and FaZe, as the weekend got on, could not find first bloods, especially on offense. And when you play red card S&D and you're playing every round 3v4, it's going to be almost impossible to win unless the defense is just actually
that's yeah, of course, that's how the maps went down. I'm merely saying from a map pool perspective, there's not a single weak map in this entire best of 7 for Thieves. Not a single one.
All I'm saying is if FaZe picked the chose to play red card over Vault, they win that map. Your perspective in this series is completely different. Is all I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. The fact that there's
multiple bread and butters.
My point is the fact that there's a 10-0 map in the rotation for the best of 7. You lost. There's a fucking 10-0 map up there.
Talking about red card.
Yes.
I mean, FaZe is undefeated on red card going into the series for the last like 9 times they've played.
I know. It's like their only choice, right? Because it's one of their stronger maps, but like you're still giving them their best map all season.
I don't disagree. I think their map pool is deeper, Chris, but I think that I agree with Ben. I think you're kind of overblowing it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I just don't think
veto list watching right now?
No, I think that Chris is going about it the right way. I just think like the takeaway I have in this series is not the map.
It's the searches, bro.
I think
it's the way they play. Yeah.
Okay, here's where the number one CDL ESPN analyst steps in here. So I'm just gonna talk about Ben's point and Octane's quick point, get those out of the way before I double down on what Heggy said. I understand what Ben's saying from like looking at the maps and how they went down. It was like a hard point map away from like potentially being a different series, blah 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 blah, whatever. The S&Ds were way better. And Octane also doubling down saying it was just the S&Ds. Well, let me explain to you Heggy's point, and this is why I'm doubling down on it right now, and how his point is absolutely 100% right. So yes, this series looks way closer, right? So yes, this series looks way closer. Wait, so now I could go back over here? Sure. Let's go back over here. So yes, this series looks a lot closer, but I'm going to explain to you what Heggy's saying right here. So FaZe is good at red card hardpoint, but the only team better than them at red card hardpoint is LA Thieves. I already talked about it. When it comes to red card hardpoint, it's LAT, Atlanta FaZe, everybody else. Like, there's still a gap, and I just fucking knew. So, like, I did the... Oh my god, I can actually pull this up too. I'm pretty sure I got it right here. Okay, so this was my notepad from the bracket prediction. And besides the hard points, I basically guessed every other map in correct order. So if you take away both the hard points, I picked Rewind Hardpoint because I thought LA Thieves would still chow them on that because I didn't think Atlanta FaZe. But I know how Atlanta FaZe does fucking veto sometimes. Sometimes they're a little bit too overconfident. It goes back to like the interview, which I'm going to play right now, where Abizi says, oh yeah, like we don't have any weaknesses.
The champions would be a huge feat for you guys. It's been a while since you've been able to do that. Now, talk to me about at least, the casters was trying to, figure out a few things from the series, but it was plain and cut right here, 3-0. Talk to me about what you're proud of your squad in this series, in this 3-0. What were some things you guys were trying to work on, if you could tell me anything?
There's nothing really to work on. I feel like we're just, playing really well right now. And, we're vibing, I feel like, on stage at all times. So, yeah, we're feeling great.
I just got to elaborate, though, real quick. Bro, we got nothing to work on? Bro, that is the most delusional shit I've ever seen, dude. Like, the fact that he said that going into that major, I know they just won the first major, but dude, you Neslo'd the whole finals, you got smoked in all the hard points, your hard point was inconsistent the whole entire time, and I was going to say, yeah, we gotta brush up on the hard point, but their S&D in control was so good that he was so convinced that they had nothing to work on. Bro, if I'm the coach hearing that, I'll just be like, what the fuck? Like, what is this guy saying? We got nothing to work on. Like, I know you're confident because you're good at 2 out of 3 of the game modes, but brother, dude, your hard point has been average for, like, years. Years. Oh, yeah, but we got nothing to work on, though. Fucking delusional, dude. Brother. Even in that Major 2, when they were, like, the best team in the game, they had so many weaknesses. So I thought that was delusional. So I think sometimes Atlanta FaZe has a delusional fucking confidence that they really need to get in check and sometimes come back down to reality. I know they're, like, obviously, like, on their best day, probably the most skilled team, like, ever. Like, if all 4 players are playing at their absolute fucking peaks, probably the best team. But you gotta know you're, like, LA Thieves is 10-0. They beat you twice in this map. They've been smoking everybody. You had a better chance playing any other hardpoint map. I don't know why you didn't play Hacienda. LA Thieves was looking way worse at that map. Don't know why they didn't play Hacienda. I mean, I know. And Atlanta FaZe just played Miami made a pretty decent comeback. Lost by like a point. So, like, you're better at it. LA Thieves lost the map to Miami. Like, they've been pretty weak at that map. Why would you put their 10-0 map just because you're good at it as well? You have to realize, yeah, you're good at it against the rest of the league, but, there's one team that's significantly better than you at it. So that's whatever. But if you take a look at this is from when I made the bracket prediction. You can even go back to the bracket prediction. Exact maps in order if you take out the hardpoint maps. I had the Rewind, the Protocol, the Red Card, Hacienda, and the Dealership. It was literally just the hard points. I had a red card maybe if maybe Atlanta FaZe might pick that, but I knew they wouldn't pick Vault, but I put it in slashes. But I thought they're gonna try it because LA Thieves went from being like terrible, went from being like dominant that map to like never wanting to play it anymore, which is weird. And Atlanta FaZe at that point on like Vault Hardpoint where yeah, they're not the best at it, but they could still play it pretty close. It all depends on like the P4s. But I'm gonna get into Heggy's point here. If you look at this map pool, and you look at all the maps, there is not one bread and butter map in this whole thing besides Hacienda Control, which Atlanta FaZe lost. There's literally one map in this whole thing that you could look at and say Atlanta FaZe 100% fucking got that. And the one map where it was like they 100% got that, LA Thieves 3-0'd them on it. Like, this is what Heggy is talking about. Like, this map pool, and this is just like why nobody except for FaZe. And the only reason why FaZe is the only team that could beat LA Thieves in a best of 7 is purely because of matchup. Not even because of like the map pool, but for some reason when they match up against each other, this seems to be the only team that like could actually like destroy them, give them problems, and actually beat them even when they're playing weaker maps. Like the Skyline Hardpoint from FaZe, like a map that they lose to basically everybody else, but then I mean, I guess they played it like against another team at this fucking LAN, so they have been practicing it. But before then, in the qualifiers, it's the map they lose to like everybody, like Cloud9, everybody. And then they queue up on against LAT, who's been smoking teams on it, and they beat them. That's just purely matchup. Because I don't think Atlanta FaZe is a better Skyline Hardpoint team than LAT. Like, if you have both these teams play every other team at Skyline Hardpoint, LAT walks away with like the better record for sure. So that's just purely matchup. But if you look at the maps, Hardpoint, Red Card, they're both good at that map, but LA Thieves, like I said, is like here. Atlanta FaZe is like here. So they smoked them. That's the map we're going to go through and like go pick some things through. Rewind S&D. LA Thieves picks that map all the fucking time, dude. They literally pick that map all the time. Granted, this is not for the whole season because it got taken out, but just take a look at how many times like they pick it. Like, they picked it 11 times ever since it came back. That's already like half more than Hacienda and Red Card, which have been in there since the beginning of the season. Like, it's already past pretty much every other map that's been in there the whole entire season. So ever since Rewind S&D came back, they've been picking it all the time, but it's always been like the last map. So they've like never made it to it like a lot of this series, but LAT has been picking that map all the time. Protocol Control, these are the two best Protocol Control teams, so you can't even say like Atlanta FaZe, oh, they 100% got that. That could go either way. They're both the best Protocol Control teams, so that one's like a 50-50. Skyline Hardpoint, Atlanta FaZe, not even that great at the map. You could even look at their record. They probably have a positive record just because. 6-4, I think 3 of those wins. I think 3 of those are all against LAT. Like, half of their Skyline Hardpoint wins are against LAT. And you could even see, look, you can even take a look at like their record. They're like 11-7 and have a lot more wins, but a lot more losses at the same time. So that's not even a bread of butter for Atlanta FaZe. Then you go into Red Card. That's LAT's best map now in S&D. That is Atlanta FaZe's best map as well. Like for S&D, like nobody else wants to play them at it. But it's like the one team that's like up there with you. So it's not even a bread and butter anymore. It's literally just an even map. And then you go into the Hacienda Control, which is the one map where Atlanta FaZe is clearly better than LA Thieves on. LA Thieves has been avoiding the map a lot, but they finally played it and they 3-0'd them because like they figured out how to beat them on it. And then the dealership S&D. Atlanta FaZe, all right at the map. LA Thieves has a lot of reps on it. Like, there's no bread and butter in here. And then when you go to the map vetoes, the second LA Thieves takes away the one map that Atlanta FaZe has confidence on, and this is where, like, bro, like, the Call of Duty League fucking nerfed Atlanta FaZe. The second they took away Skyline S&D and Vault S&D and then Protocol Hardpoint, it was, like, over. Like, you basically took away 3 maps out of Atlanta FaZe's, like, just whole entire map pool, and they had to figure out a way to like get better. They had to start playing Hacienda S&D, which they never liked. So like Rewind became their new protocol, even though it's not as like they don't have as dominant as wins, but it is like their consistent map win map. So the second you take that away, and then And it's not even like this would be way different against like the other teams in the league, but we're talking about like against the best team in the game, LA Thieves. So you take away your one best hardpoint map, which is Rewind, and you have Skyline, you have Vault, Hacienda, and Red Card. Which of those 4 maps do you hear and you're like, oh, Atlanta FaZe is gonna fucking smoke them? Skyline, map could have went a completely different way. Vault, Atlanta FaZe does not even play. Hacienda, they're good at it, but they lose it a lot. They troll a lot. Like, they're not great at that map. Red Card, LA Thieves' best map. It's also Atlanta FaZe bread and butter. If they play any other team, then, you know, you take away Rewind, they have to face them at a Red Card. That's good for Atlanta FaZe. But the one team where you can't do that against is LAT. So you're fucked. And then you go into the S&Ds. LA Thieves always ban Protocol. You take away their map. You take away Atlanta FaZe's quote-unquote best S&D map. And then you have to play them on Rewind and Dealership and Red Card, which are all even maps. You know, like there's no map you look there and you're like, oh, fuck, Atlanta FaZe is going to blow them out of the water, especially since LA Thieves got way better at S&D. And then you take away, like, the Vault Control, the Protocol. Both teams very good at that map. Hacienda, the one map where you look and you're like, okay, that's Atlanta FaZe's best map. But then they lose it 3-0. And then, like, the Dealership map could go either way. So it's like, I 100% agree with what Hagi's saying. Like, against every other team in the league, Atlanta FaZe has a pretty good map pool. But with the one team that they don't have a good map pool against, and this just shows how far ahead LA Thieves is now as they're approaching their final form, like their map pool, like they're good at every single map here. Like, and they're good enough at Hacienda Control, even though they don't play it that often, like they're still good at it, you know? Like they're not bad at it. So if you look at all 7 of these maps, LA Thieves is good at all these. You look at these from Atlanta FaZe's point of view, like, yeah, they're good, but not against LA Thieves. Rewind, you know, they're all right. Protocol, you'd say, yeah, Atlanta FaZe is good at that, but so is LA Thieves. Skyline, Red Card, they're good at it. Oh, but LA Thieves, it's their best S&D. Hacienda Control, yeah, that's the one up. And then Dealership. You know, like, this map pool, no matter what way you spun it, is in the favor of LA Thieves. And even though I knew that, I had a prediction for Atlanta FaZe, so I had to pick them. But, like, in my actual logical brain, I looked at the map pool, and I was like, dude. It would be, like, I was basically going off a fucking matchup at that point. I was like, dude, not looking pretty for Atlanta FaZe, I can tell you that. But now we're going to get into the Red Card Hardpoint gameplay. Go through some things in that.